morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Elise Meza for Meza News Broadcast. Today we will be discussing about something very important to our American culture today from coast to coast. And that's immigration. How legal and illegal immigration affect our economy in multiple different ways. Today we have two guests joining us on MNBC, which have experienced immigration in two vastly different ways. Our first story today is Miranda Galindo, who comes from Midland, Texas, which is by far the fastest growing city in all of America. It's not New York nor Los Angeles, and her story on that is very interesting. Let's go see. Miss Miranda, it's such a pleasure to have you on the set today.
Thank you for having me on this set.
Now, I do understand that you do come from Midland, Texas.
Yes, I do.
Now, can you please tell me what is Midland, Texas?
Thank you for asking. Midland, Texas is my hometown where I grew up. I was actually born in San Antonio, but because of the economy and everything that was going on, my family moved to Midland, Texas, where we had great living, but most of the population there is Hispanic. It's one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S.
So you're saying that majority of Midland, Texas is Hispanics?
Yes.
Now, were those Hispanics natural born, or were they immigrated from Mexico or from another country?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that partial do come legally across, and it does help because I know when the oil business had struck, we needed a lot of hires, and that was the best place for people to come was from Mexico because they're right there on the border. We are right there on the border. So we had people coming from McDonald's, from Walmart, Sam's Club, and moving into the oil business for $20 an hour. And the people everywhere else, all those positions needed to be filled. So when people had crossed over, some came legalized. I don't know if we had exactly illegal people come, but they were starting at McDonald's, Walmart for 15, 16 bucks an hour right on the spot. So we needed those jobs to be filled, and everyone was making business, and the town was running, and it became one of the most rapid growing cities.
Now, since the oil industry has been booming, hiring jobs left and right, starting at $22 an hour, what happened to all the other businesses, such as Walmart, Sam's Club, and McDonald's?
Well, all the oil businesses were hiring left and right, so they needed jobs to be filled. So all the people that were working at minimum wage moved up at $22 an hour, and then those jobs needed to be filled. So then, minimum wage jobs such as McDonald's, Sam's Club, Walmart were hiring at $15 an hour instead of their minimum wage, and that was their starting point.
But why did the businesses do that? Why did they start from having their jobs go from minimum wage to start boosting it up to $15, $16, $17 an hour?
Why? Because those jobs need to be fulfilled by other people that were vacating to the oil business. So we had Mexicans come in, we also had high schoolers go in, and it was better for everyone.
So the people that are immigrating from Mexico that are going into the oil industry for jobs, but not only the oil industry, but also into the minimum wage jobs in McDonald's and Sam's Club as well as Walmart. So from at that point of working at jobs that started at minimum wage to now at a minimum wage of $15 an hour, which is livable.
Yes.
Wow, that was very interesting, and thank you so much for coming on to our show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
That was Miranda Galindo, and for our next interview will be a man that is very well known on this topic, for he himself is an immigrant. Welcome, Mario Meza. Mr. Meza, thank you so much for joining us today on MNBC.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
For today's topic, I'm going to talk about immigration, and I was hoping if I could ask you a few questions about it.
Well, absolutely. I'll be happy to go over them with you.
Now, my first question for you would be, why do you think the subject of immigration has become so volatile in our national conversation today?
Well, the subject of immigration, I personally believe, has become very volatile because, unfortunately, it's become a bit of a political football. Politicians on both sides have thrown it back and forth. Now, it is a sensitive subject, of course, that deserves some very educated discussion, some very in-depth discussion, and I'm so glad that you're approaching the subject because I believe that it's due, that it's given appropriate discussion, appropriate investigation into it. There's many aspects of immigration, and it's important. I mean, let's face it, we are a land of immigration, a land of immigrants. Without immigration, the United States would not exist. but unfortunately it's become a very emotional issue on both sides of the aisle.
So when you mean by political football, can you give some more elaboration on that?
Well, what I mean by political football is this. If you talk about political parties, on the left or let's say on the Democrat side, for example, they've over-politicized the issue of immigration to the standpoint where they make it's an issue of unfairness, it's an issue of this or that, to the point that it's lost really much of the rational discussion, which is well deserved. And then on the right, on the conservative side, if you will, many times it's gone overboard to the standpoint that it's become sounds borderline racism. I think in both aspects, it's although come from a standpoint of fear, if you will, but also from exploiting a very sensitive subject to many that are caught in the middle of it.
That was very interesting. My second question for you would be, what is your opinion on our nation's immigration policy?
Well, that's an excellent question. Our nation's immigration policy, for the most part, has been non-existent. For the best, any administration, the current one and the previous one, have really only lent lip service to immigration policy. There is immigration law. Every country has it, and every country should have it. The United States should be no exception with sensible immigration policies. At the moment, I just don't believe that there is much of an immigration policy that there is in effect, and the little bit there is for the most part either very poorly followed or not followed at all.
And my next question for you, Mr. Meza, would be, what are your thoughts on both legal immigration and illegal immigration?
Well, I think that question is really at the crux of the matter. The issue becomes, I think if you ask anybody in their country about immigration, everybody understands that we are a land of immigrants. It's in our Statue of Liberty. I myself, I'm an immigrant, and I always said, you know, I wasn't born an American citizen. I was just privileged to have been accepted, yes. And I believe that there's a place for legal immigration, absolutely, and I believe that the national policy should, by all means, have a place for legal immigration. Legal immigration has brought tremendous contributions to our culture, to our economy, in so many different ways. That being said, I also understand the plight of the illegal immigrant because having immigrated to this country myself and my family and seeing so many, I understand the plight. I understand their plight because of the nations they come from, whether it be Mexico or Central America. I understand the reasons why they want to come to this country. That being said, there needs to be a national policy that encourages legal immigration more so and really enforces immigration laws to the point where illegal immigration becomes very, very little, if any at all, because the legal immigration has been made available as such a place that it makes illegal immigration a thing of the past.
Thank you so much for being here today and giving us your insight on MNBC.
Well, it was a real pleasure being here. Thank you for having me, and congratulations on your new show.
Very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. 2 different stories on a very crucial topic. And as always, I'm Elise Meza for MNBC News. Catch you next time.
This has been another exclusive MNBC broadcast. Thank you for joining us.